Alright everyone, Adpocalypse 2.0 along with other various kinds of censorship are now actively upon us. People are being mass demonetized, even if their content, by the way, is not even political, which is exactly what I warned would probably happen, because it's based on AI, and AI is faulty. Google should have known this to be the case, but you shouldn't be using AdSense anyway, especially if your content's even remotely out there, so... my suggestion, I'm going to make 5 suggestions here. Simple steps that you can take to survive the new 1984-style censorship that we are now experiencing online. Facebook's not your friend. You've seen Zuckerberg. He wants to be like, a cult leader or something, so, who would trust him? Twitter's certainly not your friend. They've been censoring things long before Google bothered to do anything. So, it's obvious that the crackdown is here. It's just a matter of how bad does it get. Does Google respond by saying, whoops, I think we pissed too many people off here, so, maybe we should back off a little bit, tinker around with the AI, and maybe stop taking people's content down for little or no provocation. But here are 5 suggestions for how to survive the current era of censorship. Because people, on the left, they're now pro-censorship. They're not hippies anymore. They grew up. And they get kind of dumb about such things, honestly. Number 1 is to scrap Chrome or Chromium as your browser. And also, why the hell would you use, there are still people that use Internet Explorer. I know that because I can look at the operating systems that are looking at my blog. And it's not pretty. There are still people that use it. Some people switch to Edge. I don't know why you would use that. It's better. It's faster, but is it more secure? No. Chrome and Chromium are slow, clunky, and messed up, honestly. And this is just from the standpoint of ease of use, not anything about Google as a company. Firefox was my go-to for years. I switched back in, I think, 2009 or something and never went back. Firefox, unfortunately, though, every time they roll out a new update, they glitch out their own browser. So I no longer recommend it. I recommend the much lighter, much more stable, much faster Pale Moon. And Pale Moon is basically, if you've used Firefox, Pale Moon is exactly the same. It's just quicker and more sleek. Most of the add-ons you can get for Firefox are available on Pale Moon. It has AdBlock Plus, it has NoScript, it has all the only one I wanted that they didn't have was Ghostery, but Ghostery is vestigial at this point because NoScript is so much better. You can tinker around with it more easily, and it's also on by default, and then you can just allow through what you need to look at a web page. You'd be surprised, by the way, how many things are trying to load on the web pages you're going to that you don't actually need to have enabled on that web page. You'd be surprised. For some pages, it's almost incalculable. So get Pale Moon, scrap Chrome and Chromium especially. Why would you be using them? You can look up online. I know a lot of people use smartphones now, so they're like, oh, I can't change my browser. Yeah, you can. There are ways to do that. You can Google it. I'm not going to do the let me Google that for you thing because I never use a smartphone. That's up to you. For those of you who are using a laptop, desktop, get Pale Moon. So much better. Just from ease of use. Number 2. Google, at least in one instance lately, deleted the email of a person when it took their YouTube account down. That's Jordan Peterson. Again, without giving him any explanation as to why. Now, they restored everything and then didn't want to talk about it, so maybe it was a glitch in the system or some test or something like that. But who really cares? I mean, if Google's going to get that draconian. Some of you use your Gmail account for work-related stuff. I would not continue to rely upon it. You're going to have a Gmail account to, sign into YouTube and stuff like that. Okay, that's fine. Use something else for personal communication. You probably don't want Google having too much info on you anyway. I recommend protonmail. It's based in Switzerland, completely encrypted. It is free to use, but if you want the cap on how much you can store there, you have to pay something. As a free alternative, Yahoo Mail, Yandex, they're both fine. They function similar to Gmail anyway. Yahoo appears to be a little slower than Gmail, Yandex a little bit faster, but if you want to keep it in the US, you use Yahoo. If you don't care that Russians may go through your emails, I guess you use Yandex or something like that. Number 3, upload all your content to other video sites. Look, If YouTube suddenly goes full 1984, I don't mean Adpocalypse 2, I mean just starts taking everything down. You've got nobody to blame but yourself when your precious not backed up videos are completely lost because they won't reinstate your account, and you should put them elsewhere. Now, Tara McCarthy has an interesting point. She's come out and said, oh, I don't recommend people use VidMe. Like, it's not a free speech platform. That's true. But if you're simply promulgating your videos on multiple sites, VidMe is probably the easiest to use if you're used to YouTube. Dailymotion and Vimeo would be a close second, sort of tied. BitChute is new and novel. It's torrent-based. I recommend looking into it. I've got to look into it myself over the coming days. If it works really well, I might start using it as my primary video site if it starts to take off, and I have reason to believe that it probably will. There's also, I can't remember the acronym site actually, it starts with an LB, I think. I think Jordan Peterson himself is involved in actually running it, if I remember correctly. I could be totally wrong there. But there are YouTube alternatives. I use VidMe as a second upload site and Dailymotion as a backup for my most important sort of occult-related videos. I don't really put the politics stuff there because of the hard cap on how much you can upload each day. It's like, I'd have to re-download everything I'm uploading in a lower format, like 480 or something, and re-upload it on Dailymotion. It also takes longer, like its loading time is slower. There+, also Minds.com. And Minds, apparently you can put videos there. I just can't figure it out myself. It's really more of a weird fusion of G+ and Facebook. And for that purpose, it's just fine. Apparently I got a bunch of followers there and I never even post anything. Once I get videos figured out there, though, yeah, I'll probably put stuff there. Number 4 is to use Gab AI. I don't recommend using Twitter. I had to get a Twitter because so many people are familiar with it, and I wanted to give people notifications when I uploaded videos, and I also wanted to yank people's chain on, you know, any politics-related hashtags that come up on trending. But Gab is just as stable. It's quickly growing. It's not an echo chamber, regardless of what you've been told. You've probably seen, if you've read about it at all, oh, Gab, that's like the alt-right Twitter. It's not. I'm there. I'm not on the alt-right. There are plenty of people there that aren't on the alt-right. There are a lot of libertarians, alt-lighters, radical, centrist individuals. Then you got like religious people there as well that I've argued with a couple times, honestly. And they're not even necessarily far right. They're just like on the religious fringe or something. So it's fun. And there you can say all sorts of cool stuff. You can actually insult other people and you're not going to get banned for it unless it's like criminal harassment or something. So it's great. It just sort of makes sense. It's the free speech alternative. Number 5, turn off AdSense. If you're getting hammered by Adpocalypse 2.0, why would you bother keeping it on? Just disable it. Just get rid of your AdSense account altogether and say, well, I guess I'm not going to make a living on this. If you've gone from making a couple $100 a month to making $10 a month, what's the purpose of even having AdSense? Google doesn't want you to have ads on your videos. They're sending a fairly clear message to you. But they don't care if you crowdfund, and I recommend Hatreon. Again, another site like Gab that's been billed as, oh, it's the alt-right version of Patreon. No, it's the free speech version of Patreon that began to exist and began to be used by people specifically because of the shit that went on with Lauren Southern. People get nervous. I think those of us who were nervous months ago about impending possible censorship on Google and elsewhere had every right to be, and now we've been proven correct. There's a huge overt tidal wave of censorship currently happening on this and other platforms. And it's something that people should seek to avoid. Now, some people, of course, say on the left, oh, well, Google's a private company, it can do whatever it wants. I've never heard anyone proclaiming themselves to be a leftist make arguments like that before this year. Never. Not in my life have I ever heard any self-proclaimed leftist who actually cared about issues at all proclaim that to be the case. They were uncomfortable with the idea of corporations determining what people do and do not say. They used to ream Zuckerberg up and down all the time because he was trying to block anti-war footage and whatever. So they've sold out. They're not going to help you until the shoe's on the other foot. So my recommendation is to take steps for yourself. And it's easy. These are 5 right here, and there are other things people can suggest and they can do to avoid being basically kicked off the internet. I've also got to make a video at some point about this idea of turning Google into a public utility. I oppose it deeply. If you think Google's being abusive, wait till the FCC gets through with any service like that. Oh, it'd be a total shit show. There wouldn't be any political commentary left on YouTube. Right now, people are getting demonetized primarily. If the FCC came in, if the government started regulating Google as a public utility, it'd be 100 times worse. Google would be the new Clear Channel. People would probably end up paying thousands a year to host any content at all. It would grow less and less efficient. It would grow more and more strangulated and censored, and pretty soon you wouldn't even be able to put a cat video on it without offending someone anyway. So I absolutely oppose that idea. People need to take it in their own hands to defend their content. We also need to stand together against these things. That's the most important thing of all, and this involves, people who might be on the left as well. Censorship is not a good thing. You shouldn't be celebrating the fact that others would have their presences removed. You may totally disagree with what they're saying. If so, it's better to debate people than to empower other groups to try to stamp them out, because then, of course, that group is now empowered to stamp you out. You just don't realize that because it hasn't happened yet. Now, I assure you that it is coming, yes. People on the left who make political commentary, they're going to get stomped on too. And it'll come before the midterms, probably. And that's maybe by design, honestly. So look forward to that. Don't say I didn't warn you. And here are some suggestions of easy ways to really sort of help. The more people that stop using like Chrome and Gmail and stuff, the more Google might get the message, hey, this new idea is actually ragingly unpopular. It's probably not going to work fiscally for us because we're hemorrhaging money now on other platforms for every new bit of ad revenue that we are getting because we're more family friendly now as a company on YouTube. And they'll lose money. And once they realize that, maybe they'll look askance to passing any new censorship through. That's about all. Peace out.